Hi all, this is Dr. Sage Breslin and this is Wisdom Wednesdays, my special series on my journey with cancer, and this is video number 61. Wow, I know this is going to be another late edition, but hopefully this won't be as long as the last video. I guess I just wanted to catch you up on what a challenging year it's been. So I think I talked a lot about what happened in Ireland in my last video. I don't think I mentioned that I had developed bronchitis and then COVID. Yeah, what a ride. Despite the fact that I've had the monoclonal antibodies, I don't have a functional immune system. So I guess while I was dealing with the bronchitis, whatever I touched or whoever I was near, on the off chance that I didn't have my mask on, maybe even on the plane, while I was having a drink or having something to eat, got the bug. And so that's my less than formal surroundings today in my quarantine bedroom. I am doing much better this week. Just still feeling a little bit punky, so I'm trying to keep it all low-key in my life. It's interesting to think back that, I was told if you get, quote, COVID, you'll definitely go to the hospital, and you may never get out, you may die. And so I'm so happy I'm A, not at the hospital, B, not dead. So it was definitely a challenge. I got to try the new drug Paxlovid, and unfortunately it's too strong for me. I got 2 doses in, and then the side effects were just worse than the COVID, so I had to stop that out. But as I said, I'm feeling much better. Really just trying to deal with the fatigue side effect. So it's nothing that's new to me. So I just thought I would mention, in addition to recovering from bronchitis and COVID, I have found myself really studying, other things that this year has brought my way. Losing my mother now 11 months ago, and my father last month. And just really, I think, coming to understand how little I really allowed myself to grieve. I think in both of their cases, I was so, what is that word? I so appreciated the relief of their pain and their struggling and their suffering that I valued their right to pass on from this plane. But that has nothing to do with eliminating sadness or grief or anything else. I mean, that's an entirely different ball of wax, right? So I think, though, that I leaned so heavily on the fact that they were no longer in pain and no longer suffering that I didn't really make a lot of room for the incredible emptiness that I felt as they left this plane. I think in my mom's case, I was always very connected to her spiritually and intuitively, so I've been able maybe more effectively to kind of remain connected to her spirit. With my dad, I had a different kind of relationship with him, and not that it was any less spiritual, but that we communicated more directly. So I noticed a couple things. One, my mother's boyfriend had dropped off some of her clothing for me to go through. Actually, a lot of her clothing to go through. My mom was a country club manager, and so she had incredible, beautiful, beautiful designer clothes. And I have worked with an organization called Working Wardrobes in Orange County, California, and in the past. And when she was preparing to pass, I even asked her mom, what do you think? How about if we donate them to an organization who helps women be outfitted so they can go back to work after they've had, fallen on hard times? And she was so excited about it. So yesterday I found myself going through, I don't know, 200 items from her wardrobe and, making sure that everything was clean and not stained and, suits went in bags and everything else had to get, folded. And as I was doing it, I just found myself touching in with her. Anytime I found something that I remembered that I loved that actually fit me, which my mom was very, very tall and thin for most of her life. And then there were these just teeny tiny times maybe where we wore the same size. And today I'm wearing a dress actually of hers. I found myself smiling and feeling this heart connection, this reminder. But the other thing is that I found myself sort of connecting into her circumstances and memories of when she wore certain items. And I felt that grief kind of rise to the surface. And, then some of the other things I've been looking through are just some old photographs and some albums. And then I felt my heart just, yanking around the corner and missing my dad. And and thinking back to, as I said, the kind of relationship I had with him, I think for a lot of my life, both of my parents were missing in action. They tried very hard, but they had so much on their plates and they had so many conflicts between them that I think it sapped a lot of their energy. And frankly, I don't really think they knew what the hell to do with me. I am very unique, and I always have been since I was born. And I think I may have just been above their pay grade. And so as I was trying to help them understand what was happening to me, I just don't think they could be present to it. And at this stage of my healing, of my transformation, of my evolution, I'm able to really embrace that. They did the best that they could. I have held them accountable for what they didn't do, and have praised and celebrated what they did do. And I will never forget, I was thinking about my father's celebration of life, which is just coming up. Probably one of the most poignant memories is that in my very early 20s, I finally decided that I would communicate with my parents and specifically tell them what had happened in my early years and with the assaults. And I don't know why I chose then. I certainly could have told them the whole ball of wax, but I just couldn't. So I just chose the early years and I told them, and I wrote a letter and sent it to both of them individually. And my mom had a really hard time with the information, and I think eventually was very supportive, but I think she held herself very responsible for not recognizing or not knowing, or, the thing we moms do, I guess. And it was interesting. My dad said he had to read the letter 3 or 4 times and kept on having different reactions emotionally. And then finally he said, can we jump on the phone? And so we were on the phone together, and I will never forget, he said, all right, I've read the letter and I understand what happened. And he said, these guys are still out there. He said, if you want, I got a guy. If you want them out of here, I will have them killed. And I remember this. I remember my heart kind of falling down through my stomach onto the ground. And I paused, I thought to myself, there was part of me, that child part of me was like, yes. And the adult part of me was like, no, no, it was more like, no, Dad, I don't want to lose you. If you're connected to something like that, like, I don't want to sink to their level. I don't want you to be a part of that process. And so I told him, no, I'm gonna, back then we sent things like telegrams. And so I had sent telegrams to both of the perpetrators saying, one wrong move and I will contact the police and, I will tell them everything. And I just think back to that moment where I think it was the first time in my life when I felt like my father had my back, like a dad would. Can I say that? I didn't even know what like a dad meant, but somehow that just came all together for me. And I'll miss that. I don't have that now. I don't have a person who's got my back like that anymore. I have me. I became that person who's got a guy. I became that person who, could look out for herself, frankly. But it's different when you lose your dad. And especially when your dad finally kind of comes out of the woodworks to be your protector. Like, I'm going to miss that. And so I guess I am using this time with COVID and with the quarantine to really begin this grief process from a different angle. I also realized that I had been hesitant to have my memoir published because I didn't want my parents to know all of the details around what happened to me after that little bit of information I shared with them. And now they're gone. And now there's nobody left to protect. Now those details can't hurt them. They don't hurt me. Now it's time. So it's time for me to get back to that work and to get it published and to move forward with my life. So my wisdom for today is carpe diem. If you've got work that's resting below the surface, and I'll tell you what, I did not remember that moment back in my 20s. I just put it away about my dad. And out it flew in response to something I was watching on Netflix, of all things. And it put me on my knees. I cried like crazy. And it opened up the grief, which was really a good thing for me. It was really a necessary thing for me. So my wisdom is be open, let yourself be vulnerable. If there are things below the surface, get to them. This is Dr. Sage Breslin, and this is Wisdom Wednesdays.